Welcome to episode 69 of the Final Corner podcast. We've made it to the magic number. This week's show we're talking about... Don't shake your head at me, Tom. This week's show we're talking about BTCC from Snetterton. Unfortunately no Grand Prix this weekend as Imola was cancelled due to extreme flooding in the region. So best wishes to everyone there. Don't know yet if that'll be rescheduled. It doesn't look like it will be at the moment. So we'll be back next week with Monaco for F1. But we had a big weekend of touring cars, rounds 7, 8 and 9, I think they were, from Snetterton.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom and Nick, welcome back. Did you miss the F1, enjoy the touring cars? How was your weekends?
Oh, yeah. I didn't really miss the F1.
Me neither.
But I'm looking forward to Monaco. It was like, relief, right, I can do something else on my weekend. Maybe that's just the whole thing going back to the rant of too many races a year.
Yeah, I just don't like it when they clash. You know, I like to have an F1 weekend and a touring car weekend.
Because it's a big commitment to watch all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it certainly makes a podcast easier when you'll have one to do. So, Snetterton, Nick, Tom, you guys have flicked through qualifying, so you can start with talking about the qualifying.
A couple of red flags going on, wasn't there?
Yeah, pandemonium. It was arguably the most exciting, or let's say action-packed session of the weekend in comparison to the races. And it was 2 red flags in total, was it?
It was, yeah. First one was quite interesting, watching everyone. Well, I say everyone. I think it was about 6 cars just all disappearing off at one corner.
It appears that Nick Halstead's engine launched itself. Apparently, in the interview, he said he went off first and didn't realise it was the engine failing, but dumped a lot of fluid around Coram, didn't it?
Well, that was a brand new engine as well, because his other one was knackered for something or other. So I wasn't sure if there was something wrong with that engine that he's put in, or if it was just not installed properly.
Probably the latter, I think, isn't it?
Mm.
Just rushed. Maybe something was rushed, but that's what he seemed to insinuate. But we don't know the fact. Or we do know he didn't make the races. So I think who went flying off? Some people hit the barrier, didn't they? Which is
Patterson
surprising.
And Turkington, they both hit the barrier.
You don't normally reach it because it's quite far out there.
Yeah, no. Dan Lloyd did an amazing drift to avoid the barrier. Quite fun. But yeah, the rest of them, was Morgan and a couple of others. But most people got away with it. It was really only Patterson that got any major damage from it. Turkington's was all just cosmetic.
He slapped the wall face on, though, and I thought, that could be the end of his qualifying session, but fortunately it wasn't.
Mm.
But yeah, it could have been... I just had awful flashbacks to different scenarios, but Croft a few years ago where there was some awful injuries and a big pile-up. That was fluid on the track as well, but it was also raining, and it wasn't here, so... It took was it 3 or 4 cars were off, the red flags flew?
Yes.
No harm, no foul, really.
Long line of cement dust laid down there, which did affect the times for a little while.
And also, there was quite a long pause, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, Tom Ingram said afterwards that there was still fluid on the track when they were doing the last runs. It wasn't fully cleared up, so they all had to be careful going through there. But it was Ash Sutton who took pole, starting to show the dominance of that Ford Focus. Ingram from Turkington, Jake Hill, Gold Star, Ricky Collard, currently Nick, did well in 5th.
Yeah, just think he did very well, especially after the disappointment of the last meeting.
Might have fired him up.
And Rory Butcher still on the Adventus, as we see.
I'm going to keep highlighting that and see how long it stays.
Dear, oh dear.
I'm convinced that we are wrong. They must know something different from us. So
No, the BTCC website, I love it. I just think Rory Butcher does not drive a Toyota Avensis. Sorry.
Dan Camish, he binned it off in qualifying as well. So he didn't set a time and was at the back. And Jed Edwards.
That was the second red flag.
Yep, and
strange one as well.
And Jed Edwards was disqualified. So there was 3 drivers with no time and a disqualification at the back. Aidan Moffat was one I noticed when I was looking at this over the weekend. Awful. Two Civic Type R's at the back. They must have had problems at some point.
Well, Will Powell went off, didn't he, in qualifying?
Yeah, for no apparent reason.
Bizarre incident I've seen in a while, where he's coming out the pit lane and he immediately locks up and goes straight off into the gravel. But he's like doing walking pace. I don't know what's going on there. It might have been a technical issue, but
well, he carried on and set times afterwards. But yeah, it was just very weird.
So turn 1 gravel trap. But you're right. Moffat struggling there. 2.4 seconds off pole. Where's his teammate? Up in the top 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here we
It doesn't seem like a pace problem, does it? That seems like an issue with setup or didn't get a
Well,
lap in or something.
I've been on his Twitter just as we're speaking. He had one clean lap on new tyres and he lost it because of slightly running wide. There we go. Mystery
there we
solved.
go.
If only I'd done that search like 5 minutes ago when we're preparing.
we got it now.
So
It's fine.
So yeah, that was qualifying. I guess probably brings us neatly onto the track limits debate that was kicking off since the last round, essentially, when Ricky Collard lost his win. Previous, there was an interview with Alan Gow and the clerk of the course where they were talking over the rules, just talked about how they enforce it. Alan Gow was asked, is he worried that it's affecting the spectacle? And he said, no, I'm not bothered. The rules are the rules, which I understand. Everyone knows them. And then you had drivers commenting on them as well, where the gist of what everyone said was, the rules are harsh, we all know what they are, we all take advantage, we just don't think they're being applied consistently or fairly. And at this weekend's race, we had judge facts at 3 corners, so there was only 3 corners being monitored for track limits in this race weekend. And as we know, it's any part of the tyre over the white line or curb. This class is out of bounds now, so you can be half an inch over and your class is out of bounds, and it's judged, I believe, by people basically sat with a view of those corners.
Yes.
And they have to radio back to the clerk of the course to register each transgression. 2 transgressions you get a warning, 4 you get a penalty. That's the way they're working it. Now, what's your guys' thoughts on only applying it to 3 corners? Because obviously they don't have the resource to do everyone.
Yeah.
Do you think it's better to apply them at certain corners or just don't? Essentially.
It's just... It's really hard to judge on it, isn't it? It's I know they do it on certain corners because they're the ones where people will gain an advantage, allegedly, but yeah, it just seems to do it for all or nothing for me.
Yeah, don't disagree with that. And also, I think one of our main challenges was the communication to the driver and to the viewer and the fan, and I don't think that's been improved. But through this weekend, it wasn't really an issue. I think in the races, some warnings came up. Oh, what? No, was it not?
I did a little count of race 1 because after I first watched it, I thought this is ridiculous. Everyone's taking the mick here. So, just on TV in race 1, I counted 56 occasions where people went off track. And I counted it with part of the wheel over the curb or over the white line. Do you know who had the most that I counted during the race?
Sutton.
No, I only counted 2 where Sutton was over the line.
Oh. Well.
And again, this is just what I've seen on TV. Colin Turkington had 12.
No way.
Ooh.
12 I counted where he was over the curb or over the white line. And I'm taking the
Now,
edge
when
of
I
the
said
straight curb.
there's no issue this weekend, I just want to clarify that I meant it didn't crop up in terms of penalties.
So,
but what you're saying was it's just not being enforced properly, or
no.
they should change it, or
Well,
something like that.
I on my count, just watching on TV, I had 5 people who had more than 4 transgressions on the broadcast. Jake Hill, Tom Ingram, Colin Turkington, Dan Camish and Ronan Pearson. I counted 12 times Turkington was off, 7 times Ingram was off, and then you've got Hill with 4, Pearson with 4, Camish with 6. And Camish did get a warning, as did, I think, Dan Camish. There was another Dan, because they made a joke about it.
Lloyd.
Dan Lloyd got a warning, but I never saw him actually go off. And then Dan Nobom, I got one.
Camish, Lloyd, Watson, Edwards, and Ingram all got track limit warnings.
Oh, wow. So, but no penalties.
Yeah. No.
And here's the thing, when you're counting those, Colin, is that on the corners where there are judge
I have
facts?
no idea.
Or
I have no
everywhere?
idea. Everywhere.
They didn't tell us what those corners were.
Well, that's just pointless. That's hopeless, isn't it? You've got to let fans know, otherwise we end up with conversations like this where it's confusing and frustrating.
They may have mentioned it at some point in the broadcast, but I never picked up. where they were.
But it's not clear. It needs to be repeated.
But if I can see on TV that you gave the guy a week before a penalty for 4 transgressions, which, be fair to them, they showed on TV before.
Mm-hmm.
They did show it. But I've just counted Colin Turkington with 12. It just makes a mockery of what the system is. So you either need to, I agree with the drivers, you need to apply consistently or you don't, essentially.
Yeah.
And
so ditch it.
I think it's a terrible rule anyway, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So,
especially those tracks that have sensors down and they're no longer allowed to use them because they're in the wrong place.
What a waste of investment.
Yeah.
Time.
It's a bad rule. They should change it.
And obviously it's MSUK that's really what we're pitching at. But we're also saying the implementation by the BTCC is not ideal. Fair?
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand how you can properly police it.
Well, I don't think you can. I think that's the...
Because they made the
challenge.
point when there's a gaggle of cars, how's the judge of fact supposed to be seen live? Who goes off in a corner or not when there's 8 cars in a row? You can't. You can judge the guy at the front. You can't judge anyone else. We need a change there. Now, on to race 1, Tom Ingram gets an awful start and he drops back down the field. He gets bumped off the track twice. So I'll give him two freebies where he was in a fight for going off track. Tom Chilton retires as well. And the full first lap is just Ingram getting battered, essentially. But Dan Camish is making moves at the back. You suddenly see after lap 1, he's already up to about 20th or something. And then by lap 2, he's already in the points. So he's had a mega start and was clearly the fastest car in the grid, but still a hell of a start on him.
He wasn't even on the soft tyres either, was he?
No.
For that race. I believe he was on the hards.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the first weekend we've had all 3 tyres in use as well. So there was a bit of strategy throughout the weekend, which, to be honest, I wasn't really paying much attention to watching it. But that was another thing thrown in the mix. So Ingram manages to start fighting back through. He gets a nice move on Adam Morgan at Agostini.
Yeah, that was lovely. Well, the move was more done at the corner before, I think, where he managed to get underneath him with a really nice tight line. And then just held the inside for Agostini. It was a lovely little move.
He then gets past Rob Cord? Then gets past Ricky Cord in the turn 1. I thought Ricky was pretty tame in a lot of his defences this weekend. I don't know if that's a fair comment or not, but he didn't really fight people too much. I think he was maybe just looking at banking points after what happened last time.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, this was Ingram, right? So I can't help but think that move was a bit of hybrid boost at an alternative time. You don't normally dive bomb someone into turn 1 unless you've got a bit of an overspeed, I think.
Yeah, no, all the guys at the front were trying to save their boost to the end, so like Sutton, people like that hadn't used any until the last few laps. They weren't interested, they were trying to save it. Jelly then passes Josh Cook into Brundle, which I thought was quite a nice move. It looked at one point that Cook was just going to run straight into the side of him, put them both off. And then Ricky Collard's out with a water pump issue.
Surprised that wasn't a safety car.
Yeah, parked at the end of the straight going into Brundle, wasn't it? Which I thought was a bit strange myself. There was a yellow flag there, but there was nothing else. And then also there was pictures of him in a deck chair watching the rest of the race.
Very Fernando Alonso.
Yes. So Camish is up to 10. Sam Osborne, I thought, kind of let him go at the hairpin.
I think so.
And then let's see, the 2 BMWs just fighting with Hill and Turkington, which is a common theme this weekend. Turkington just didn't quite have the pace, really.
I think Hill's slightly quicker than him, but it's marginal.
Especially in that first race, but definitely, yeah.
You've got Sutton, Hill, Turkington, now Ingram behind. Tom says all on the same tyres. So then Hill manages to get past Turkington and then immediately starts closing in on the leader pretty quickly, which you wonder if he had an extra couple laps or a few laps earlier, he would have got it. But the move on Turkington, I know they're slightly different stables, but they're both in the same car, and Turkington puts him on the grass going down the back straight, which is a surprise because Colin's not normally that defensive, not normally that aggressive, and considering it's a failed BMW, you wouldn't really expect that.
To me, that was more a case of he didn't know he was there. Because I don't, what you said, I don't think he would deliberately push him onto the grass in that situation because it doesn't really benefit him at all. I just think he didn't know he was alongside him.
Could have been a surprise. Yeah, it could have been a hybrid push when Turkington wasn't, or something like this. Yeah, I thought it was a brave move, let's say. And then, as I go through Brundle and into Nelson, Hill's a bit squirrely. And I think, in my opinion, was if it was anyone other than Turkington, that would have been a crash. But Colin's wise enough to then ultimately cede and give space.
Yeah.
And I think he lost momentum, and I thought, oh, he's going to be overtaken by, was it Ingram?
Yes,
but it didn't work out. Yeah. So, fair play for Turkington, actually, in the end, for sort of not making it too difficult through Nelson. It could have made it, could have squeezed him a bit. But for Hill to go flat out on the grass in a rear-wheel drive car, yes, it's gutsy, but it's a big risk this early in the championship when, it's a fellow BMW. I'm with you because they've got different sponsors, but it's kind of the same team behind the scenes. A bit weird.
I didn't actually count that as a track violation for Hill. Really, I probably should have. So, you can add an extra one on for Hill in this one. So he starts closing in on Ash Sutton. Ash Sutton's on the mediums. He's on the softs. Then Dan Camish's progress. He's on the hard tyres, but his progress finishes when he has no hybrid left, and it gets passed by Aaron Taylor-Smith. Hill uses hybrid and his better tyres to catch way up on the back of him. He's within a second in the last lap. He has a lock-up in the middle of the lap, on the final lap, which probably helps Sutton a little bit. But he's near enough nose to tail as they come across the line, but he's never quite in distance to put a lunge on Ash. Which probably just saving his boost till the end, as Ash did, is what saved him there.
I think Ash is coaxing it home, to be honest. But then it did get too close where you think, oh, okay, maybe Hill's clearly quicker at this stage. But it seems like to me as well, I thought the soft tyres just generally would wear out quicker than they do, but they don't seem to at all, really.
No, apparently it's more to do with how you bring them in. If you over-abuse them in the first few laps, they die very quickly. If you're relatively kind to them, they will last nicely, which Sutton was aware of, and that's what won him the race, because he disappeared at the start while the BMWs were being cautious.
Yeah, he was 2 seconds ahead after the lap. It was... Yeah.
Sutton seemed that Sutton and that Ford combo seems to be able to smash the field to a 3-second lead after 2 or 3 laps, and then still have tyres left at the end.
Yeah, I mean, did you see him during qualifying as well when he was going round Coram?
The front wheel off.
He had that on a knife edge. Yeah. And he just seems to be on the limit with that car.
After qualifying, he said it was the best touring car he's ever driven.
Which he then qualified to say the best front-wheel drive touring car ever driven later on. And then he said, maybe the best touring car.
So, Ash wins.
He's winning.
Yes,
so.
Ash wins from Hill and Turkington. Tom Ingram took the fastest lap of the race. Other notable, Ronan Pearson got himself some points, which I thought was good. He had a decent qualifying. Dan Camish managed to make it up to 11th in his recovery weekend. Ricky Collard obviously didn't finish the race, and Jed Edwards only managed to get ahead of Nick Halstead at the back of the grid. So, Nick, you want to finish us off?
Our boy Mr. Doble managed to get 17th this time. But he seemed very competitive this weekend. He was scrapping with his teammate for quite a majority of the race.
On to race 2 then, after all that drama. We've got a pretty calm race at this one. Josh Cook's having issues in the grid. I think it was with his throttle, I believe. And it meant the mechanics were on the grid too late, which then gave him a drive-through penalty. After the start, though, he picked up a puncture, which completely ruined his race regardless. So he was in the pits twice in the first 2 laps.
Yeah, so it was not his day.
No.
he's only got the pace really to be in the reverse grid draw positions. So he has to build the weekend around that. And when stuff like this happens in race 2, then game over.
Ingram.
Actually, having said that, sorry. He did fight back well in race 3, but it could have been. Can you imagine how even better it could have been in that third race?
Oh, yeah.
So Ingram starts hard to this one. Sutton's away again and wins.
I mean, it just disappears. Done. Bye.
Yeah,
fair play.
I
Amazing.
have nothing else to say about Ash Sutton for this race because I don't think we see him. He's just gone. Our man Doble, I think it's Doble, is fighting with Watson at the start of the race, and then Tom Cheltenham manages to get past him. Ricky Collard puts a nice move on Andrew Watson, and then we go into lap 2 where Ricky Collard's starting to go back through and he gets up to 16th as well. Dan Rowbottom gets through at Wilson, and then Adam Morgan manages to smash his front end trying to do the undercut, which he was nowhere near getting. So there's a bunch of broken glass or broken front lights on the track at that corner.
To be fair, a little bit. It is a last minute dive from Rowbottom.
Oh yeah,
and he does look like he's running wide, but then that Ford, it's got a hell of a front end on it.
Yeah. Camish's progress is a little bit slower in this race. It takes him a little while to get past Aaron Taylor-Smith, and then you've noted that your man's been. You're just watching the timing chart the full race, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I tend to watch that
to see what he's doing. But he's fighting with Watson apparently, which we don't see.
To the point where Watson loses a quarter of his car, maybe.
We see some debris on the track. I'm assuming that's where it came from.
I think Watson's running around without the front wing and the front light, even maybe. Definitely the front wing.
Yeah, I saw the debris, but I didn't see where it came from.
Wow. Well, we didn't actually see how or why, but definitely Watson's lost one. So I'm putting two and two together.
Ingram starts all his places. He drops off behind Stephen Jelly. Rob Collard goes around Ronan Pearson at the Williams hairpin.
And that's the corner onto the Bentley straight.
Oh, Williams corner.
Most of the race is just watching Aaron Taylor-Smith defend, which I think you tweeted about at the time, Tom.
I did. I only got one like from Tim Coronel, bit random. But his account is basically a bot, I think.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. First of all, it's been too long since Aaron Taylor-Smith's done anything of note in the British Touring Car Championship. And I think in the pre-season podcast, I mistakenly said, has he moved to the Power Max team when the hard Coopers could be on the ascendancy? I still think the hard Coopers are, but this shows that there's still life left in the Astra. But he did drive what do we call the Tom Baldwin, Aidan Moffat manoeuvres, strategy of defence, which is follow the inside painted white line.
Mm-hmm.
So no danger of him going over the other side of track limits because he's so far over to the opposite of the racing line.
He did do it very well, though.
Yeah, it was within limits, wasn't it? So I think as well, you've got to fight like crazy for P12 because you could get the reverse grid draw.
Yes.
So also it wasn't completely futile, was it?
No, but the fact that he managed to hold Camish for so long is what impressed me. Because that car is obviously so much quicker.
Mm.
When Camish got past him, he just disappeared.
It was quite enjoyable watching the Hyundais trip over each other trying to get past.
Yes.
Pearson and Chilton had actually made good progress together almost to that point, like they did earlier in the year at one of the rounds. Maybe Brands, but yeah, then they got to Aaron Taylor-Smith and they just couldn't get back past for like half the race, maybe more. So that was the main interest in this race, I think. Everything else was pretty drab.
There's certainly nothing going on at the front.
Yeah, just a bit drab, but sometimes you get that.
Yeah, and I think it worked out nicely for Sutton just with the tyre strategy. Being on the softs at that point the weekend really helped him out.
Yeah, we didn't get much. Considering there was hybrid in the mix and mixed up tyres, race 2 was a bit of a...
Can't win them all.
Well, Ingram was the only car on hards in that entire race. And I think because they were like 2 seconds slower than the softs, they reckoned roughly. Obviously it varies from car to car.
Did well to get 7th then.
Yeah, he did very well.
And an alternate strategy to the BMWs.
Yeah.
Strategy? Did they have one?
Yes, they had one. And
Yeah,
they used
that's
it
true.
for everyone. So yeah, you've got 4 BMWs in the top 6, which will come back to haunt them, I think. Dan Rowbottom was in 4th in this one. Nick finishes off.
Yes, Mr. Doble dropped down a little bit from the last race, but he finished in 19th. Once again, scrapping with Andrew Watson all throughout the race, but this time Andrew Watson got the better of him and finished a place ahead. Still finished ahead of Bobby Thompson, though, who just didn't seem to do anything this weekend.
No, off form. Don't know what the issue was there. We'll have to find out. Based on his comments at Brands, the team reckons that they've got a straight line disadvantage. And this is a big, long straight, so maybe I'm purely speculating there. But
I think you'll find that's trademarked to Jason Plato. He can't use that excuse.
oh, sorry.
Has anyone been checking Jason's Twitter account?
No.
No.
For a sweepstake. I've not heard from him in months. He's still
I
going.
don't know if he's between. Bit weird, bit of a shame that he's not found any racing gigs this year, though.
Has he not got anything booked in yet? No.
Not that I'm aware of. Maybe some good stuff, but
He ran out of petrol on the A34 5 days ago. So.
oh,
He should have been using an electric car, shouldn't he?
hey.
Hey.
I mean, he does present an electric car show,
Yeah.
which is the irony.
So, race 3. Bit more interesting. Is Dan Rowbottom on pole, I believe. After pull out number 4.
No, it
No,
was
6.
Number 6. Wasn't Stephen Jelly on pole?
That's it. Yes. I am good at this job. So yes, Steam Jelly's on pole for this one. George Gamble pulls over on the formation lap, so we'll lose a lap as well. Jerry Edwards doesn't make the start. So we'll only have 11 laps in the final race of the day. A decent start for the BMWs at the front. Again, Dan Rowbottom though does get up to... it gets past Morgan for second on lap 1 and then gets up to first on lap 2. Sutton and Turkington are fighting at the start. BMW's a wee bit squirming the brakes because tired. Colin runs out the wide and loses a few places.
Uncharacteristically so.
Yeah, and then in this one, the early interest is in the Toyotas. Butchers has quite a good start. He starts coming through. It gets past Hill pretty quickly. There was a double overtake that one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And then,
Sutton went the other side.
Yeah. And then we've got Dan Lloyd and Aaron Taylor Smith have a fight which puts Lloyd out wide. Track limit for him. We get a replay of him running wide as well because it's apparently very impressive.
Yeah, it was the power sliding again on the grass, but not as impressive
Twice
as
in
the
one
last
weekend.
time.
You're in the wrong series, Dan.
Did you see what David Addison called him though? It did make me laugh.
Oh, I can't remember. I did hear it.
Captain Car Control.
Captain Car Control. It did say as well the trim trailing Toyota, which is one of his favourites at one point.
You're talking about commentary lines here. I was peeing myself laughing watching the Borussia Dortmund game on a Saturday night, Sunday night, whenever it was, because the commentator Derek Ray, who does the FIFA games, did a word-for-word line that's in the games. So it's also one that's actual in his repertoire that he's recorded for the game, and he broke it out in like the 85th minute, and I was like, oh my god, I've got to tweet about this, because he used to comment on Falkirk games back when we were good. So yeah, back to the race. Rowbottom's up to first now. Jelly starts to go a bit backwards. Butcher manages to get past him at Coram, which I thought was a brave move.
Yeah.
Quite easy for the guy on the inside to drift a little bit wide or just open his steering slightly and make your life hell. But
Also,
managed to get it
offline
done.
it's a little bit dirty, I reckon. So,
yeah.
well held. Not as dirty as Richie's, which is so dirty that you can actually see the dust flying up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was a lovely move, yeah.
That's where Camage got Jake Hill there to get back up the field. Camage is on a charge for the second time this weekend.
But in race 2, he didn't really do much, did he? So
no,
I don't know what the reason was there.
But race 3, he's back on it. Sutton then gets past Darren Morgan as the BMWs start to go backwards. Ingram takes the lead from Rowbottom, which I thought was quite a nice move. It was well set up, and I don't think Dan really fought it too much. But
it looked like he got a little wobble halfway through the corner, which meant he couldn't really fight back with it. It's not how Ingram got past, but I think it just made it easier for him.
Camish is then past Ash Sutton as he's the Ford that's flying in this one. And then Rowbottom drops behind Rory Butcher as well. Camish then gets let past Rowbottom to start going for the lead. We see some fights in the rear of the pack where Cook passes Turkington as he's making his recovery, and then we get the BMWs start scrapping amongst themselves as they've all congregated together on the same tyre strategy, similar pace, and it all goes to pot for them, really. I think Morgan's at the front, isn't he? Of the queue.
It's like, is it Jelly? But it's Morgan, Jelly, then it's Turkington, Hill. Certainly at one point, anyway. And for me, it was, there's the same tyre strategy, and Tim Harvey's rightly having a go. There should have been different ones. But I also think Morgan and Jelly move out of the way. Because you've got Napa, who let Camish through twice in this race. And you've got 4 BMWs tripping over each other. It could have been worse than it was, and it wasn't good.
Yeah, I do agree with that point, but at the same time, because they're all on the same tyres, I think that made it harder for the team to say, let them through there faster, whereas Camish was on softer tyres.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And also, we're always about, let them race, and here I am being a hypocrite. But
I do agree, though.
I'm saying it because I'd like someone to challenge Napa for the championship at the end of the year to keep it exciting. And that doesn't help.
Ends up that Hill goes for a massive dive on Morgan, and his brakes are locked up forever. And neither of them make the corner, which I think even Hill runs onto the grass and exit. And it just allows Turkington and Josh Cook to go past both of them. So that was a case where you've, as a manufacturer, you've cost yourself position. So
it might have been that if they'd have let Turkington and Hill through earlier, Cook might not have got them. I suppose you don't know, but
it ended up
fantastic drive from Cook anyway.
Yeah, he managed to get up to 5th at the end of that, and you look at Jake Hill, who was on 10th. So it was a bit of a loss for them.
I mean, 5th from the back row of the grid as well.
Yeah, it was a hell of a drive. Him and Camish had great recovery drives. Cook's in race 3 was probably the highlight, but Camish is chasing down Ingram at the front. On the last lap, though, if he had an extra lap that we didn't lose at the start, it would have been real interesting. But he's closing in on the last lap, but he clouts the curb on one of his right-handers.
Yeah, he did
Nelson.
That later on as well. On the final corner at Murray's.
Yeah, he smashes the curbs, and so that might prove important because he gets second. He's fastest lap. He doesn't manage to catch Ingram. I reckon if he had one more lap, he would have. But he doesn't manage to get up and past him. But his great recovery in this race is spoiled because he gets excluded for right height, which maybe was being too aggressive. Maybe there was a fault. Who knows? But he's failed the test and he's completely excluded. So all that hard work is, and he's the lead he had built in the championship is completely wiped out.
You can't have a 0 score when Sutton's doing what he's doing. So his positive start to the year is now a negative. He's on the back foot. Bit of a shame. We want an inter-Nissan battle. I think Marcus Simmons on Autosport and Motorsport.com said in the aftermath that the team didn't know how or why it failed the ride height test. So normally if it's obvious damage, that's your excuse and you have a go about the rule and how stupid it is. But I've not heard that. There's definitely a picture where the roller's not going underneath.
Well,
So it could be a ride-out error.
I don't think it was purely because I saw them trying the roller in the middle all the time, and it wasn't even close to going under. But it did go under the far right.
Oh, right, okay.
So I always think if it's ride height, it tends to be the whole car is at the same height if it's too low, too high. It seems more like damage, but that's just me guessing.
Well, it could be like what Colin's insinuating then, clobbering those curbs.
We'll never know.
No.
As usual.
That's the sad thing, unfortunately. Yeah.
We'll never know. But also in this race, we saw Aaron Taylor Smith's defensive drive come back to haunt him with, I think it was a clash with Pearson, I think it was at the time.
Yeah, he met his demise.
Yeah. I couldn't.
There was an overlap there, though.
Yeah, I couldn't really see whose fault
we didn't have the right
it was.
angle.
No, but it looked like he turned across him to try and cut the inside. And then just. But apparently that's the guy who's behind's fault, as we saw in race 1. So, Ronan Pearson deserves a booting in the backside, apparently. So on to Jake Hill.
Yeah, there was no penalties dished out, pretty much, apart from Camish's disqualification and Halstead's engine problem.
Yeah.
Which is the first time in a long time we've had no sort of don't hit this person penalties.
But you've got a very good point there, Colin, about the whole overlap scenario with Sutton and Hill on the Donington start line. So, yeah, Pearson, get him in jail.
Yeah, we'll never see you again. So, right, finish us off then, Nick.
Oh, yes, Mr. Doble managed to get a point out of this race. Due to Camish's demise, he got 15th.
Well done. Well done, sir.
He was also on the tractor tyre.
He was, yes.
Sorry, aka the hard tyre for people who can't read our document.
I thought I just needed a way to differentiate it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
Yes. So, after all that, Ash Sutton is in the lead of the championship. He's went from a complete disaster in round 1, being 30 odd points behind Dan Camish. He's now 38 points ahead of Dan Camish after the third race meeting of the season. So, quick turnaround for Ash. That
4 wins in a row.
Ford is incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Ingram is second with Turkington in third. So we've got quite a familiar front three in the championship. Jake Hill's on 98 level with Dan Camish, and then you start to get disconnected from the pack behind already.
They're already out. Only those 5 drivers can win it.
I would agree.
And so that's Butcher and Cook gone. So yeah, fine. Even if Josh Cook wins all 3 at Thruxton.
Cook's only got 58 points so far. So our reservations about the Honda Civic this year are proven to be correct.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
I can't see him winning one this year. At Thruxton, I mean, I can see him winning a race at some point this year, but on outright
not even
pace,
a reverse grid?
Possibly, but that's more down to luck of the draw.
So no race 1 or race 2 wins.
Let's see him smash it now.
The game has moved on. And, well, yeah, let's hope he does. But the game has moved on, and that car's dated. But what other option did he have? I don't think there was one. But, he's got that nice little line when he needs it. Oh, he can't do that anymore because of track limits, though, surely.
Yeah, Thruxton will be an interesting one, won't they? Especially in that middle complex. It depends where they judge it. Depends how they judge it.
Right, so let me just get the corner name. So I was going to flag this ahead of time. We've talked about it for a couple of years now. But Goodwood. You go through Campbell, Cobb, Seagrave, then Noble left and Goodwood the right. My theory is this. When Josh Cook needs a good lap time, if someone's closed it in or it's qualifying, he's 2 wheels over the inside curb at Goodwood and a bit of the grass. And he's very committed. So is that a judge of fact?
Are never monitored on the inside of corners.
Oh, right. Okay, another hypocrisy. So
they do when that.
Keep your eyes peeled for this.
Yeah.
When I'm doing the tally, I count them.
Keep your eyes peeled for it. It's basically a rally-style cut.
You know what I'm interested about is the chicane at Knock Hill, going up the hill.
Yes, because
Oh yeah, no more
not-
two wheels then.
Well, you normally have a
Which
tire
is a
barrier
spectator is
somewhere.
where you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where I got hit with gravel in the nether regions a few years ago.
Well,
It's,
If you have to take that chicane properly, you have to do it about 10 mile an hour left and right. You know?
Yeah.
exactly. It's we're track limits. Well, we'll stop boring people about them now.
Yeah.
But in the championship, there's only 3 drivers still without a point. That's Will Powell, Jack Butel, and Jade Edwards, who had a pretty shocking weekend, unfortunately. She didn't even make race 3 because of car problems, so that was a shame. Tom Ingram managed to get his win, though, despite apparently being ill all weekend. So,
I need a haircut.
oh dear, the hypocrisy of that man saying it.
Podcast listeners can't see.
Yeah, they can't see. So, next up for the touring cars is Thruxton, where Josh Cook normally dominates on the 3rd and 4th of June, so 2 weeks' time. And next for us is Monaco this weekend, my second least favourite race of the year. So
Let's
I'm
hope
excited.
Leclerc nabs a pole, then it's going to be interesting.
Or if it rains, that's always interesting.
Otherwise,
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because there was no F1 this weekend, but the driver rumour mills went into full force the past couple of days.
that's exactly the reason why there wasn't a race this weekend. You've got to get those clicks.
Exactly. So apparently, Lewis Hamilton's going to Ferrari for 30 million a year.
Yeah, of course.
And Charles Leclerc has apparently started discussions with Mercedes, which happened a few
It would
races
be
ago,
amazing.
allegedly.
I'll believe it when it's
Yes.
later in the year, because I do think that is our board. What else are we going to write about? I'm
Yeah.
not blaming the journalists, but maybe Liberty Media's sent some leaks and all this stuff. I don't know. Full of conspiracy theories there.
That's the only place I could see Hamilton going, though, is Ferrari, because he always
Yeah.
alluded to the fact he would like to drive for them. But
Tick that box.
I can't see it happening.
No, I don't see it myself. Weather forecast for Monaco this weekend: 25 degrees and sunny on Saturday. And then on Sunday, it's 24 degrees with a 40% chance of showers from basically 1, 2 p.m. onwards.
That could
Hmm.
be.
So there is a chance
So
of
that
rain,
stays.
which I think is during race time. Should be during race time, I think.
Hmm.
So there is a chance during the actual race. But, you know, the most exciting part of Monaco is Saturday.
And also, if there are any incidents, we won't see them because the Monaco has its own TV directors.
No, they don't.
Very true.
Oh, has it
Oh,
changed?
has it changed?
First year ever it's changed.
Oh,
F1's
fantastic.
F1's
Brilliant.
taken over it. And F1 Twitter went mad because apparently the TV direction at Monaco was always the best. And
What?
I just reminded of seeing Lance Stroll in endless replays while there
That's
was
the one.
Yes.
I was just about to say, oh, well, that's good, but it's a shame we won't get another Lance Stroll meme.
Exactly. But apparently
It's
F1
always been
Twitter
so.
was raging, which I just think F1 Twitter gets
No.
angry at things existing, essentially.
Or is it Elon Musk screwing the algorithm so you only see the angry stuff? I don't know.
Probably.
More likely. So
I've got another old account that I don't use anymore, let's say. And if I open that and log in, even though I don't follow him, the first thing I see every time is his tweet. Just shows how skewed it is.
Mm.
you know how everyone says he's smart? The more I hear from him,
Smug.
the thicker I think he is.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? The more exposed you are to Elon Musk, the more you think, oh, what's happening with the facade?
Exactly. He is as dense as a door, isn't he? Most of the time. He must be good at maths. He must be good
Well,
at
no,
actually
like
something.
PayPal was a thing.
PayPal was a thing. But then he bought a bunch of other people's companies after that.
Yeah, they all existed already, didn't they? Most of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we should definitely move on.
Mm.
Yeah.
But he was at the Miami Grand Prix, wasn't he?
Probably. Oh, was he not in
I don't know.
with?
Bezos.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was. Yes, I think that was it. Anyway, that's enough. Any more for you guys for this one?
No, we've ended on Elon Musk. That means it's time to go. Bye.
Yeah. We must go. Oh, I can't believe it.
Oh, that's it. I'm ending this call now.
Yes. And we'll finish on a bit of praise. Well done to the BTCC social media guys. They managed to get the Story of the Day highlights up on Monday, which we've been asking for more coverage online all the way through this season and last season. And the guys are all clearly working hard and they're getting replays up quick, which is always great.
The qualifying on YouTube and getting the highlights, even though we think the highlights could be improved, it's good to have it on YouTube within a day. Keep it up, please.
Yeah. So improvements all around. We're all happy, and we'll be back next week with Monaco, which will either be an hour-long episode because there's so much to talk about, or we can probably do it in about 5 minutes because we're bored. So who knows what you get next week? But we'll see you then.
Bye.
See ya.